Guys, I can't believe the year is already a third over. What happened to 2025? Well, I will say on a personal note, April was chock full of high notes. So let's talk a little bit about everything that happened in April 2025. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released The Hills of Tanchico, the featured song in The Wheel of Time Season 3, Episode 6. So, I would love to know after this video, after you watch it, how did your month go? Because my month was pretty hectic, it was pretty busy, it was a lot of juggling between reading, between wonderful live streams with fellow co-hosts, and then also making a lot of video content for the channel, trying to keep up with the Discord, doing an Emmys push for a song that just happened to blow up this month, and trying to fit some music projects in between and read some books. So it was a lot. It was a lot. And so I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about my month, take a little bit of stock. I usually like to expand out what I do in my reading roundups every week. So now this is kind of a survey of everything that happened, what I hope for kind of the next month as well. So if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. Feel free to hit the notification bell and watch the video to the end because it always helps the YouTube algorithm, even if you have it on in the background. Just to watch it through its completion always helps a lot. So I deeply appreciate you all being here and I'm excited to get into this. So let's get into it. And as I always like to start with, the books. The most important part about this channel. So I was looking at the books that I read because I was kind of having a little bit of a reading slump, I might say, in some respects, because I was feeling chronically indecisive all the time about what I wanted to read. And I think part of that was, I've been trying to do these read-alongs on the channel. I want to do buddy reads with people. I want to read my own stuff. I'm also sticking to kind of a rigid schedule. And then also, I really want to read the stuff I want to read in the moment. So it just kind of ended up being that I was reading a bunch of books. There were some that I did not complete, like Memories of Ice, book 3 of Malaz and Book of the Fallen. So I got maybe a third of the way through on that. I read Alaska by James Michener, and I got maybe halfway through in that. But, there are these little smorgasbords of very eclectic kind of reading month. But I looked at my list, and I actually read 6 books this month. I have no idea how that happened because I thought I was falling in behind this month, but somehow I did. And I think the fact that I was reading such quality books this month had a lot to do with it. So let's jump on in. So the first book I want to talk about is kind of a twofer. And the reason being is Janny Wurts had written her book Ships of Merior, almost 900-page tome, to be one novel, one complete volume. But the way it was split up in the UK was 2 books. And they're kind of, 2 books of 400 and something pages each. So you kind of get an idea on, they're regular sized books. And also, there is a breaking point in between the two. And Janny Wurts' prose read very intentionally, so you have to kind of slow down. So it's almost like reading double the volume in terms of concentration. So I'll call it 2 books if you're okay with that. So the 2 books were Ships of Merior and War Hosts of Vastmark. Now, as of this taping, I'm finishing up War Hosts of Vastmark. I'm going to be done today, and so by the time you're seeing this, it will count. And so I'm very excited to kind of talk a little bit more about this in depth with Janny Wurts herself. She's going to be on the channel later in May. But in the meantime, I just want to say Ships of Merior was a nice setup. War Hosts of Vastmark has been kind of all payoff for me. I feel like Erathon's character, Lycier's character, you start to see a little bit more of the layers of why Lycier's enmity to Erathon, and kind of how he's being manipulated by the Curse of the Mistwraith Deshtir, and kind of the reasoning behind his decisions. And some of it feels justified, some of it doesn't. And when you look at Erathon's side, which I'm Team Erathon personally, a lot of his decisions feel justified. Some of it feel like a mistaken identity. Some feels like innate prejudices. When you're dealing with somebody who's called the Master of Shadow, you're going to probably think of them as nefarious by trade, right? So really, really cool. I got to say, it read very slow for me, but that was not of lack of the enjoyment. It's just it's very dense books, and when it's something as massive as that, it is more intentional, slow moving, so you have to really take your time with it. That's one of the reasons why I did not finish Memories of Ice this month. Is I decided, hey, these are two chonkers. I can't really give my 100% concentration to both at the same time, so I really focused on Ships of Merior, Warhost of Vastmark. Both are 4-star books for me. I gotta say, and as I finish these last few pages of Warhost, it might bump up to 4.5 or something like that, but it's right on the precipice. If I had to compare the two, I would say I like Warhost a bit more. Even the intrigue, I feel like, is even more interesting to me, but I am enjoying both of them very much. So I would say they're, far and away great books, and I'm so happy I read them. I'm so happy to be able to talk to Janny Wurts, because book one was one arc in this, sub-series kind of a thing, in this giant 11-book magnum opus that she's written. Books 2 and 3, Ships of Merior, Warhost, Vastmark, are another arc. So we're kind of talking arc by arc. So I'm very excited to speak to her about them. And those were the 2 of the 6 books I read. Now, the third book I want to talk a little bit about is one that I had mentioned in this video. If you look up here, it is a great book. Don't read it. And that is The Girl Next Door. Now, The Girl Next Door, I would give 4 stars to, because I feel like the writing was incredible. I mean, Jack Ketchum knows how to create a story, even based around real characters and the harrowing events that took place with this girl and her sister that were tortured, and this actually happened in 1965, I believe it was, and the names and everything have changed, and certain circumstances have been, kind of Hollywoodified, I guess you could say, for the book, but a lot of the stuff really went down the way it was presented in the book, and that's just what makes it so much more horrifying, is that the neighbors participated, the sons participated in this brutal torture killing of this girl, poor girl, and a lot of them are still, walked free from it, or didn't face anywhere near the consequences I believe they should have faced. So it's just a hard book to read from that standpoint, and Jack Ketchum does not have stuff happen off stage, if that makes sense, or off camera or off the page. He really kind of goes into it. So it's a very difficult read, and that's why I always say I can't recommend it in that sense, because trigger warnings up the wazoo, like any trigger warning you could possibly think of. It's a hard one. But if you're not squeamish about those things, then it is a fantastic read. It was just very disturbing, so I would give it 4 stars for the writing, but I would say proceed with caution if you do read that one. But that was the third book I read this month. The fourth book is one that I liked a little less, you guys, and that was my first Philip Fracassi book, The Third Rule of Time Travel. Now, I thought that the ideas of it were fantastic. The idea that, like, you can't change the past, you can only be a passive observer of it, that you're going into your body and re-experiencing it, almost as if another consciousness has taken over your body in the past and is kind of re-experiencing these events. And what would happen if you were able to have the technology to do that? Would that piss off the universe, the grand order of things? Would it try to stop you from doing that? I think that's a brilliant concept, but I feel, there's authors like Blake Crouch, I think, who does the technological thrillers. Michael Crichton also, who was the GOAT in that respect, right? Greatest of all time. And I feel like they did it better. They went into the science a little bit more in a way that was intriguing. I felt like the book, Third Rule of Time Travel, was a little bit more predictable. It felt a little bit corny at times, I think, because of certain themes that were explored in how the main character kind of gets through this whole predicament that they land themselves in. So I don't know. I thought there were aspects of it I really liked, but I feel like Blake Crouch did it better for me. Michael Crichton did it better for me. I would give it probably 3.5 stars out of 5, maybe 3.25, somewhere in that region. I won't say that I wouldn't recommend it, because your mileage may vary. You might actually feel that it really scratches that itch. And I think from that standpoint, what it explores is really interesting. I just feel for myself, I've read better in other books with other authors. To say this, though, I'm not going to stop with Philip Fracassi. I'm actually going to try probably Boys in the Valley, I think, is the other recommendation I've heard a lot. So that is one that is on the list, but in the distant future, probably. But that's how I feel about it. If you've read The Third Rule of Time Travel, by the way, and you have a contrarian point of view, I would love to hear from you, because I always say, like, my opinion, take it with a grain of salt. Read it yourself and see what you think, because the things that I didn't care for as much about it might actually be the thing you're looking for in a time travel story. So proceed with with your own kind of viewpoint, your own worldview, and your own preferences when you choose these. But I like to always tell you honestly like how I'm feeling about a book. But that was probably the weaker read of the month. Speaking of the opposite of a weaker read, a very strong read, my friends. But again, another disturbing read. This was book 3 of the Matthew Corbett series by Robert McCammon, fast becoming an author that I would rank up there with Stephen King, and I don't think he got nearly the credit he deserved. I think, I was talking to Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems about this, and I think it was that he didn't necessarily have in his books iconic characters like Pennywise the Clown from It, or specific things like, I don't know. There were certain iconic characters with The Dark Tower is another good, Roland Deschain, these iconic characters, and their adaptations, I think, really kind of put King over the edge. And then, of course, Robert McCammon took a 10-year break from his writing and then came back with this Matthew Corbett series. So I do feel like he deserves more credit. And if you like Stephen King, you will absolutely love this author. Now, to say the third book, Mr. Slaughter, was disturbing is an understatement, because Mr. Slaughter is like equal parts Hannibal Lecter and the Joker. He's nihilistic, he is calculating, he's intelligent, and he is brutal. He's a very brutal man. And Matthew Corbett is in the prime position to be taken advantage of in this story, because he's kind of letting any previous success get to his head, to his detriment. And I'll just leave it at that, because I don't want to spoil anything for you. But I will say again, trigger warnings in this. If you are squeamish about sexual violence or anything of that nature, like, just proceed with caution, because I always like to let you know what you're in for. But I will say that it is one of the best ones in the series so far of the 3. It's my second favorite, I think, of the 3. And very closely to the first one, So I will say that it was just a fantastic read. I'm going to finish off the list of 6 I read with the most different of the list, which was The Singularity Is Nearer by Ray Kurzweil. Now, he had written The Singularity Is Near in 2005, so he wrote an update to that, basically talking about AI advancements in technology and kind of predictions on where humanity will go from here and what kind of questions it will ask, because human lifespan has kind of increased from, the life expectancy in the 40s and 50s was like 52 or something. And now it's like, 80 something? And in another 30 years, in our lifetimes, conceivably, it'll be, he's predicting it will go up to 150. And he's been right about a lot of things so far. It's like, what will that make for humanity? Will we be able to financially survive that? What will be the philosophical contentions that come through that? If we were able to replicate our consciousness and put it in another body or in a robot or something, would that robot be the same as us? Would they have voting rights as well? All these interesting things it explores. I gotta say, it's a fantastic book. 5-star read all the way for me. I forgot to rank Mr. Slaughter, by the way. I would say that's a 5-star book for me as well. But yeah, Singularity Is Near, 5 stars. Easy 5 stars for me. I thought it was brilliant. I would like to read The Singularity Is Near now, the first one in that, but I don't know if it will be outdated now. So this was kind of an update. I wish he wrote more books that I could check out. I don't know. I'll see if I can explore more of his. But I've been enjoying doing a little bit of the nonfiction here and there. And this one I did on audio, so I was able to do it while I was going to the gym and that kind of thing. So it helped to be able to break up the monotony of just sitting with a book and just, read through different mediums. And I've always had a really hard time reading, doing audiobooks. So nonfiction seems to be the ticket for me where I can actually retain the information. So I'm excited to do that more. So that was my 6, you guys, but let's go to channel updates, because a lot happened on the channel this month. Probably some of the most things that have ever happened in the channel related stuff. So we are now at, as of this taping, 1,150 subscribers, you guys. So we got 70 new subscribers this month. So very exciting to see so many new faces, as well as familiar ones in the comments these last few videos. Speaking of videos, I released 11 videos amongst all this crazy work. I don't know how I did it, but I somehow did. So that was really great. And the shocking thing was I also, in addition to those 11 regular videos, I had 2 live streams on my channel. And that was with 2 very special guests. Friends of the channel, wonderful people. David from Four Corners of the Page. I'm linking that video up here. We had a lovely chat. Just about all things books, BookTube, our kind of reading journeys. And he and I have very similar energy levels, I think, on our channels. And he's just a stand-up guy, wonderful guy. So I had a blast chatting with him. I'm going to be on his channel on May 15th or 16th. I forget the date. I'll have to check my calendar. But excited to have more chats with him. A lovely guy. And then I had a wonderful chat with Jake from Nerd Level Rising. So another great chat. I got a chance to be on his channel, and he got a chance to be on mine. So we got to chat a lot about his journey as well, and kind of, we talked about everything from philosophy to reading to fitness to how all the things that we are interested in combine to create who we are as people, and also inform our worldview and what we like to read. So it was a fascinating discussion. I'm linking that up here as well. Jake, it was such a pleasure talking with you, man. Thank you so much for coming on the channel. It was just wonderful times. And again, fast friends, one of the long-haired crew. And as I always like to say, long-haired crew have to stick together, right? And okay, so this was not even all. So that was the 13 videos so far. In addition to that, I was a guest on 7 different channels. So there's 20 pieces of content this month. I don't know how this even happened, but the first one I want to mention was one I was particularly excited about because it was with the OG booktuber Daniel Green on his second channel, Shoveled Goblin. He had me on to talk about my work on the Wheel of Time music, as well as the Hills of Tenchiko, the process, and how that all came about. Linking that up here. And Daniel, for those of you who don't know, kind of helped me start my love of Wheel of Time and fantasy in general. I first discovered his channel while I was reading the first book. I wanted more context, and I discovered BookTube through that. That's what made me fall in love with Wheel of Time that much harder. And then I pitched for the show, him and Mike's book reviews. And that's kind of the rest is history. So I really have him to thank in a lot of ways for kind of jump-starting my love of fantasy. And I wouldn't have done a BookTube channel without those two fine gentlemen. So, Daniel, thank you so much for having me on. I'm linking that up here for you all. Then, as I mentioned, I was on NLR together with Jake from Nerd Level Rising on his channel, linking that up here as well. I was on Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems as we talked all about Matthew Corbett's first 3 books and ranking them, talking spoiler-free and then spoiler-filled with delineated timestamps. So I'm linking that up here. Always a pleasure to talk with one of my best friends on BookTube, Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems. Then I was on 3 different Wheel of Time related channels and podcasts. The first one was Dragon Mount. Those of you who don't know, it started as a Wheel of Time fan site in 1999, so it's the oldest one, and then it became a YouTube channel, and they have Rafe Judkins, they have actors on there all the time from the Wheel of Time. So it was a real treat to be chosen to be on there and talk a little bit about my work on the Hills of Tenchiko as well. So thank you so much, Tom and Crystal, for having me on, and I'll link that up here as well. The second of those Wheel of Time kind of trio I was on Dusty Wheel Show with Matt Hatch. And now, those of you who don't know, wonderful channel. They did like all-night viewing parties of season 3 and stuff. The passion and dedication, it's no wonder why they are one of the official outlets where Wheel of Time news is broken. So it is really, really great chatting with them. I was on there for like 2.5 hours, and that video is up here. Then the next one is not quite out yet, but I did do a stream, like a podcast with the Watt Party, which is a wonderful podcast that is run by a bunch of people. I'm kind of linking that down below if you want to check it out. But they do deep dives into episodes. They have special guests. And so it was wonderful talking with them as well for about an hour and a half. All things Hills of Tenchiko and the Wheel of Time. So doing my Hills of Tenchiko rounds, and it's just been great. Great way to connect with fellow fans of the books, and also kind of marry the BookTube and the music, because that's kind of why I started this channel, is to be able to bring all the worlds together, And then, of course, I had my discussion on Sam from Sam Not So Wise's channel, and that was really lovely. I got a chance to speak to him a little bit about his reading taste, because we have a lot of overlap, but we also have a lot of differences in what we read. And he has kind of introduced me to some new authors. So Sam, I promise you, I will be reading The Algebraist soon by your favorite author, Ian M. Banks. So That is fast going to be coming. But Sam, it was such a pleasure talking with you, man. I am linking that video up here as well for you all to check out. So 20 videos. I don't know how I'm going to do that again. But that's a question for another day. So the top videos, actually, interestingly enough, were I guess the top video that I did was the April 7th reading roundup, actually, because I mentioned that I did the Hills of Tenchiko song, and I think there was a lot of cross-pollination from people who, liked the song and wanted to check out the channel. So that's sitting at like 641 views right now. There was also a library book sale short that I did that got about similar numbers of views, and then there was the 10 books I wish I could read for the first time. I'm linking that up here if you want to check that out. That one's kind of more of an evergreen video in that, sometimes you read books and you want to re-experience something for the first time, that first time feel when you discover something wonderful. And so I rated my top 10 books, and feel free to leave in the comments your top 10 as well. So those were those kind of top ranking videos for the month. Let's talk a little bit about music, because a lot happened in the music section. Of course, I mentioned The Hills of Tenchiko has been released, and I just got data back from Sony that it is sitting at 1.5 million TikTok streams, insane, of user-generating content. And then also about 500,000 streams on various digital platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. Truly, truly insane. Like, I never realized that my geekiness for loving The Wheel of Time so much would come in handy when coming up with a song to really try to accentuate Robert Jordan's world building. And having only a morning to do it, that book knowledge really helped. And that's something I want to do more going forward. So it was just lovely hearing about that. I'd been speaking to people who went to JordanCon last weekend, and they were taking video of them singing Hills of Tenchiko at the club there. And it was featured in the opening ceremonies at JordanCon. So really I'm just so grateful, I hired a PR company named Impact 24 PR because it's in the running for the Emmys now in Outstanding Original Music in Lyrics. So very exciting all around. I did a Reddit AMA, which I'm also linking down below if you want to check that out. So lots of things happening on the music front. But that was not all. Of course, I did some music for Linda's game, Magical Rejects, kind of a theme song, and then a couple of Evil Queen theme and some other stuff. So that was really wonderful. And then in my personal life, there was another thing I was doing because, why stop there, right? Sometimes I wonder, am I in danger of burning out or breaking through? I can never tell at any particular point. But I have registered for the triathlon, you guys, the Olympic distance triathlon. So what that means is it's 1 mile biking, 1 mile swimming, 24.8 mile biking, and 6.2 mile run directly afterwards. So I've been doing some training for that. And so I have to go to the gym like once or twice a day. And you guys, it's been great, but it's also very tiring. And trying to fit all this stuff in all at once is kind of insane. But it also makes me feel alive. I don't know. I like pushing myself, I guess. Like, I like challenging myself. It's not really for quantity. It's more for, I just feel more alive. I don't know. I really do enjoy that. So sometimes when you feel good, why not push, right? And if I need to take a break, I can take a break whenever I want. That's what I say. Famous last words, right? But that's enough about me. How was your month? Did you have a good month? Did you have a good April? Did you read anything cool? Anything happened to you that you want to celebrate? Let us all celebrate you. Let us know in the comments in your personal life. It doesn't have to be related to reading, because we have a Discord channel 70 strong now. We have the Fable app. We're all developing friendships here. And so we can celebrate each other, right? That's how I like to think of it. So feel free to share as much or as little as you want, either in the comments, in the Discord. And just know how greatly I appreciate you all. I have been a little bit lax on the Discord this month. I'm sorry, you guys. I've just trying to juggle all this stuff. I am a little bit slow on the take with answering stuff, but I'm trying to get better at that. And that starts today as I kind of dive back into responses. But thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the love and encouragement you all give me, because it's you that makes me want to keep making these videos in the first place. So really deeply appreciate and love you guys. And I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other. And I hope you have a wonderful May ahead. Read some great books, and that we can read some together. Take care.